Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners. Sprint Ride Option Podcast. Oh my goodness. It is a new episode of the Sprint Ride Option Podcast. I am Andrew Pasquini coming to you from Sacramento, California, joined as always by Jason Aponte, who is in the most famous laundry room of all of 49ers Twitter. Jason, how you doing today? How was camp day 5, day 1 of pads? I heard some guy signed an extension. I'm sure we'll talk about that here in a minute. How was day 5 of camp? How you doing today?
Yeah, it was really good. Got all my laundry done before I left, so I made sure that everything was done so I can come back and get back to the content. But yeah, some guy showed up today. It's a Sourdough Sam got an extension, lifetime extension, so he's gonna retire as a 49er mascot. Big things going on with the 49ers and stuff that everybody should be excited about.
Wow, that's an exclusive Sprint Red Option Podcast scoop right there. Sourdough Sam signing a lifetime contract extension
Forever.
Now, is there any incentives based off rushing yards for him, or is it just straight up money?
No, he has no incentives when it comes to that. The Ring of Honor, they haven't picked a game that they're going to put him in, but yeah, I like the segue, and that's a beautiful way to start the episode.
Perfect. Yeah, so I'm sure everybody here by now has heard the very exciting news. Deebo Samuel, the contract got done. The extension has been signed as of this morning. He was looking mighty dapper in his, a red and gold suit, looking really good. But as I said, Deebo Samuel, extension signed, 3 years, $71.55 million, $58.1 million guaranteed. We actually got some of the information on the extent of the deal. We'll get into that in a little bit. Just to compare really quick, because it's been a receiver-heavy market this offseason in terms of extensions. Deebo's 3 years, $71 million, $51 guaranteed. DK Metcalf, he signed a 3 year, $72 million, $58 guaranteed. AJ Brown, 4 years, $100 million, $57 guaranteed. And then Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams, little different category because they've been established in the league a bit longer. Tyreek Hill, 4 years, $120 and $72 guaranteed. Devontae Adams, 5 years, $141 million, $65 guaranteed. But if we're comparing it to just DK and AJ Brown, the two guys they were also drafted the same year as Deebo Samuel, pretty much the same average value, pretty much the same guaranteed, about what we expected. I was a little surprised that there wasn't a fourth year, but they had to do what they had to get done. So what was your initial reaction? And then as the day's gone on, 24 hours passed about, how you feeling today?
I mean, the biggest winner of all of this is Tony Dandy. All of his clients get signed, and each one for more money. And Deebo did the right thing by sitting around and waiting. I think we all know how this game goes. One guy signs, it's for the highest extension. Okay, the next guy who signs is going to break that. The next guy who signs is going to break that. So I think he did it the right way. The third-year option was kind of for me, I didn't really have a problem with it because it covers both sides. When you're talking about now, Deebo Samuel has a chance after 3 years to collect another contract before being 30, and the 49ers insulate themselves just in case, God forbid, something happens to Deebo Samuel. So it works out for both parties. I don't suspect anything like that will happen, but I think 3 years is fine.
Yeah, and over the cap, OTC, I was going to say it, I should say what it's called before I give the initials. Over the cap had the contract breakdown. If I may, give me a second. I'll explain all of it to you. 2022, his base salary is going to be $965,000, a cap hit of $6.7 million, a dead cap of $41 million. That's irrelevant. I don't think we need to worry about Deebo Samuel not being on this roster right now. Next year, it stays relatively low, $1.08 million, a cap hit of $8.68 million. And then 2024 is where it takes that big jump. The base salary of $20.97, a cap hit of $28.57 million, a dead cap of $26.54 million, and then a potential out. You mentioned that, the option. If he does not take it 2025, his base is going to be $16.6 million, a cap hit of $24.2, and if the Niners void it, whatever the language would be, dead cap hit of $15.14 million. It's a good deal. It keeps the cap numbers pretty low both this year. I mean, I didn't expect this year to be touched at all because that's the contract he's playing on. Pleasant surprise at 2023. The numbers really, decently low for what he's going to bring to this offense. As I said, the cap hit of $8.68 million. So it feels like a very well thought out contract from both the Niners and Deebo Samuel's side. I mean, they've had all of the offseason to work on it and hash all these numbers out. But it feels like a great contract for both sides, especially not even looking at the money side, just looking at who Deebo Samuel is. It's obvious to everybody that without Deebo Samuel, the 49ers are not a playoff team. And the 49ers paid him as such. And as I said, just about what Metcalf and Brown got. Good deal all around.
Yeah, and the other thing that you guys want to keep in mind when you're looking at the years is the expansion of the cap that was supposed to happen, but COVID curbed all those things. So if you see that the numbers increase going forward, it's because the cap is going to increase as much as it is with all the TV deals and everything as well. So it's really, really good that the teams were able to work with them and push those big numbers to the years that they could fit it the best with the salary cap. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you look at these numbers and why they look a certain way. So by the 2024, the cap will have grown exponentially. So
yeah, and that's going to be something to watch is how big the cap gets and see what these numbers look like, because in 2022 sense, these numbers aren't too bad. They're not bad at all. But in a year or two, Jordan's in there. I heard him. It's exciting. We're having fun. In terms of 2022, the cap the numbers aren't that bad, but we are expecting that big cap raise. I guess that's the best way to say it, where this contract might not look too bad in 2023 and beyond. So it's a great deal for both sides. And as we expected on this podcast, Jason, not to brag or nothing, it was always going to come down to as close to camp as they could get.
No. Andrew.
We bragging?
Can we push the humbleness aside, the graciousness? Let's just get it out of here. Okay. The Instagram stuff was never anything for you guys to go completely insane about. No. And for us to continuously tell you everything's fine, look at what's going to happen, and look where we are. Yes, I hope you guys listen to us sometimes when it comes to exercising judgment on what you should be jumping off a bridge about and what you shouldn't. Like, every single person that scrubbed their Instagram in one way or another got paid. Kyler Murray, AJ Brown, all of them. They all got paid. Again, Your complaint is not with the player. Your complaint is the way things are going forward in the social media era, and they will not be the last to do that. It was a complete negotiation tactic, and the 49ers never had any real reason to actually go and trade him. Like, why would you trade him when you have team control? Yeah.
And I think the only time that there was any level of anxiousness between you and I, Jason, was our draft live stream, right? Because that was the timer, right? We had said the whole time, if the Jets make their pick at 10, Deebo Samuel's not getting traded. And there was definitely some anxiousness between both you and I getting up to that Jets pick of like, okay, like, no trade rumors, no trade reports, please, because we felt very comfortable after that 10th pick. I know the AJ Brown trade kind of it was the Hollywood Brown trade that we're like, what are the Ravens doing? Like we didn't have the Brian Windhorst meme yet, but we were Brian Windhorst meming it at that time. So maybe we were the Brian Windhorst meme before it was the popular thing. But the Instagram was never an issue. It's all negotiation tactics. The trade request, same sort of thing. He had no leverage. The Niners recognized this, and that's why Deebo Samuel and his agent pulled out all the stops. And it's actually really interesting too, Jason, is one of the big sticking points to the alleged unhappiness with the team was how he was used and how he didn't want to be used as a running back as much. And you can make that argument that the leverage worked for Deebo Samuel and his agent, because Adam Schefter this morning tweeted out the incentives on his contract, and it's heavy on the running game. $650,000 each year if he has 380 rushing yards or more. $150,000 one time if he scores 3 rushing touchdowns in any of the years. It maxes out at $650,000 per year and $1.95 million over the life. So if Deebo Samuel is used heavily in the run game, once again, he will be rewarded, because I mean, I don't expect him to be used as heavily this year as he was last year, but now he has the incentive to want to be just as good on the run game. As I said, I don't think we're going to need to see that, but that was one way that was one thing he leveraged into his contract, was the running numbers incentive. I think you're muted.
I think Andrew's spot on here. When you talk about him not wanting to do that, I think it was. I think the misconception was around the whole wide back thing was that he didn't want to do it at all. He just wanted to be compensated properly, and now that is a failsafe for himself if he ends up doing more. And let's just put it out there. I don't want to be negative or anything like that, but running back injuries happen all the time. I mean, like you don't go in there saying we want to use Deebo Samuel this way, and I think a lot of how he was used had to be out of necessity. Now you put yourself in a position where if it does become a necessity again, he can be compensated for going over and over. So it all makes sense. Like all of these things are great, and it just it puts to bed that narrative about him not wanting to do that. It's just he didn't want to do it and not be compensated for it in a way that he should, because it is important. It's part of the reason that he is so heavily regarded and the reason that he has such a great season.
Well, and you make the point of, and it's an unfortunate reality, running backs do get hurt more frequently. That's why the shelf life of running backs is after 30, 31, 32. You don't see as many of them, right? I mean, Adrian Peterson, all-time great. He definitely hit that wall. I think that's part of the reason why Frank Gore gets as much credit as he does, is because he was still an 1,000-yard rusher or, 4 yards a carry kind of guy, even after that eventual decline that you expect from running backs. So yeah, it's more, I guess, more so of an insurance policy is if the 49ers are deciding to use him, Kyle Shanahan, because Shanahan, I don't know how much he's going to have to do it again this year, because Trey Lance, he has the running ability. Hopefully the running backs stay healthy. Kyle Shanahan really wanted to get the ball in his best players' hands, and it worked so well. You see what it got Deebo Samuel. He got him this contract extension. So it is that insurance of saying, hey, if you're going to run me like a back, at least give me something to do that, because 380 rushing yards isn't a ton for a running back, right? If we talk about a 16-game season, you have 380 rushing yards, you're probably not on a team next year. Let's be 1,000% honest. But as a receiver, I mean, we've talked about it, Jason. He's the first ever running back to have a first ever wide receiver to have 1,000 rushing yards and 300. God, I'm getting it backwards. I'm getting so excited about it. 1,000 receiving yards and 300 rushing yards. There we go. First ever receiver to do that. So he's saying, hey, if you're going to utilize me, at least give me a little something to get this. And that's where you're seeing that money come from. And it's such an exciting time. And the Niners, we've gotten so adjusted to seeing this, is right before camp. These are when these contracts are signed. George Kittle was around the same time. Deebo Samuel. Fred Warner, I think, was a little earlier, but still kind of the same camp area off the top of my head. It's an exciting time to be a 49er fan. Deebo Samuel's locked up for at least through 2024, maybe 2025. We'll see how everything plays out. But it's a time to be happy. It's a time to be excited. And as we said, Jason, I'll be not humble for a second. We were never worried. The Instagram stuff was never worried. We said, hey, if he doesn't get traded at the draft, he's not going to get traded. This is going to get worked out. And look what happened. It worked out. And Deb, thank you for the donation. Great to see you guys at training camp. Blessings. Have a safe trip home. It was awesome to see you. I got to say hi to you. I didn't stay. I gave you my raffle ticket that I got. I don't know if I won. So if you won off of my raffle ticket, I hope that worked out. It was a fun day Saturday. I got to hang out with Jason, KP, Jordan, Brad. The whole gang was there. We had fun. It was a great day.
Yeah, shout out to you, Deb. You're always so nice, always so positive, encouraging words. It was very nice to meet you finally. And as usual, thank you for your donation. And we're grateful. It was so good to see you. And maybe we bump into each other at a game or two this year too, as well as in Levi's. We got to get Andrew out to Levi's. He's never been.
That's the goal. That is the goal this year. Hey, Jameis Winston's in town, so I'll be in town. The Dolphins are in town. I'll probably try and get there for that one as well. It's an exciting season. It feels good. Jason, do you have any last thoughts on Deebo Samuel? Not a whole lot outside of the extension being signed to unpack, and we can move to some camp stuff that happened today. You have any last thoughts on Deebo?
No, good for him. Take care of your family, young man. You deserve every single dollar, and can't wait to see what this offense is going to look like when they ramp up. Today was kind of a light day in terms of that, what they were doing with the team period and how they were giving out reps, which is completely understandable when you consider that Deebo Samuel hasn't done anything football related for such a long time. They're taking their time with everything, bigger picture in mind. But it's good to put this to bed because now you can just get the football. We can evaluate this team, evaluate Trey Lance going forward. Nothing else needs to be a distraction at this point.
No. And Jason, we'll move to the camp talk real quick. Just you were there. And I don't know if you've heard this question yet about camp. How did Trey Lance look?
Actually, nobody's asking that. They're always asking what's Brock Purdy look like.
Oh,
Now, today was another good practice, stacked on his last good practice, which was yesterday. Highlight of the day was a beautiful, he couldn't have put it in Brandon Ayuk's hands better, going down the sideline from the pocket, collapsing, stood in there, threw it on Charvarius Ward. Very great play by Brandon Ayuk, who continues to stand out. Charvarius Ward continues to be clamps. He actually gets an interception on Trey Lance in the red zone, and wasn't really too concerned with it. It wasn't like he didn't see him. It's just Charvarius Ward is just making plays. And it's today with Trey Lance, it was a lot of quick throws, things like that, but he wasn't really that much under pressure today. Like, the offensive line played a little bit better, but they ran the ball a ton. They were trying to figure out this running back rotation. Today felt like a very light day in terms of that.
And it makes sense, though, because it is the first day in pads. It's the first day they're fully hitting each other. You want to ease into that. I saw a few guys got rest. I know Javon Kinlaw didn't practice. I know there was another name, and I can't remember off the top of my head who got the day off as well. But today's one of those days, Jason, that we alluded to, where it's one of 45 days, we'll say, up until the regular season, that football is back. And the pads were hitting today, so football's back. You mentioned Ward had another interception today. How's he looking? How's the secondary looking? Were they just as impressive as they were on Saturday?
Yeah, very good. And today, in one-on-ones, Talanoa Hufanga was with Ross Dwelly. He actually did a great job on 3 consecutive reps, one pass breakup, incompletion, and an interception. It seemed like he was playing with instincts. He knew where he was going to go. Now, certain people would just say, well, it's Ross Dwelly. But, I mean, when you consider how they're going to be using him, I'm sure he's going to run into a bunch of tight ends. So this is a good first step. I thought he looked really good today, I promise you.
Yeah, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they use Talanoa Hufanga. It's obviously it's a topic we've talked about quite a bit on this podcast with Jaquaski Tard and all that fun stuff. So it's really exciting with the secondary, just because we haven't seen a secondary with this much depth, and that's pretty exciting. I mean, we were talking about it, and Gray Fox actually got a great question. We'll get to that next, because you just mentioned the running backs. But with the secondary, just the depth is there. We talked about it on Saturday, that you have guys you drafted last year that you don't know how much playing time they're going to get because it's so deep. And, oh, by the way, if Jason Verrett can stay healthy, that just helps that much more. So this secondary, as I said Saturday, for the first time in my adult life, should not be a concern. Gray Fox, thank you for the donation. Hi, Jason and Andrew. What have you seen of Trey Sermon? I almost forgot that he's on the team. My apologies if you already touched on the subject. Jason, what have you noticed from Trey Sermon?
So he had an unfortunate drop on one-on-ones, and when you're trying to work your way up the depth chart, that's not what you want to do. Running the ball was very hard today. The run defense was out in full force. Like Fred Warner, all those guys, they were getting after it. So nobody necessarily had a good day. Out of the running backs who had the best day, Elijah Mitchell had a nice little run. Jordan Mason continues to impress. I mean, he made a catch out of the backfield from Nate Sudfeld. He made a guy miss. He had a ton of grass in front of him. Run defense was stuffing everything, though, so hard to see. But, I mean, Trey Sermon's just in a rotation right now that they're trying to figure out. Like, it feels like him and Jeff Wilson are kind of stuck in neutral right now at this point. So we don't necessarily know going into, the next few days of padded practice what it's going to look like. But Trey Sermon, that drop, it felt like that was a moment where he ran a great route, and he just flat out dropped it. You could see his reaction. He knows what's going on right now. He knows what he needs to do. So he knows that all of those plays are critical.
And I'm guessing we're going to get a healthy dose of Trey Sermon over the preseason. The Niners have 3 preseason games in 12 days. The assumption is the starters aren't going to see that much time, especially Elijah, specifically the running back position. Elijah Mitchell had a lot of wear and tear near the end of the season, had some injuries he had to deal with. The numbers dropped a little bit near the end of the season. So I'm assuming that camp battle of Trey Sermon, Jeff Wilson, the presumed options for running back 2, we'll probably get to see a lot of them in preseason games. And preseason, we are 11 days away. 11 days away from the Niners' first preseason game next Friday against the Green Bay Packers. So that'll be something they'll definitely watch, especially with the starters not getting too much time. And then, Jason, you mentioned a little bit on the offensive line. It was a big – I don't want to say it was a big conversation point because there was no pads on Saturday, and people were talking about how quick the defensive line was getting to Trey Lance Thursday, Friday, Saturday. First day with pads, they could finally fight back a little bit against the defensive line. How did The name I'm looking for mainly is Mike McGlinchey. How did you think he looked coming off the injury? But as a whole, how did they look against that defensive line today?
They improved today, but that defensive line was giving them fits.
Yes.
And the first touchdown of camp for any quarterback was Trey Lance actually, he had pressure right in his face. He stepped up and he ran it in for a touchdown. It was a really nice play. But I think that Mike is progressing as best he can. Remember, he's coming off injury, so doesn't need to be necessarily perfect right now. I mean, he is going against Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa was destroying pretty much everybody. Trent Williams stunned him though, like stoned him like off, like that's how good Trent is. But again, you don't need to know that. You need to hear that from me. Yeah, and it's the offensive line. It's all going to come together when they start to figure out the other three spots. Now we had thought that we had gotten to a point where it was going to be maybe 2 or 3 spots that maybe it'll be open, but now it's for sure 3 because it's just the 2 bookends, and we're trying to figure things out. Burford was out there, Banks was out there, Brendel was out there again with the first team. Brunskill's like moving in and out. So I think while they're working through the rotations, we're not going to know what this line is until we get a steady line, like in terms of these are the guys that are going to be taking it, and they need to get that cohesiveness and that rapport up. So it's hard to tell right now. They were a little bit better today. Mike was a little bit better, but having Trent helps a lot, man. Like him and Bosa going at it, it's like Godzilla and King Kong, man.
And it's kind of an iron sharpen iron because the Niners offensive line is a lot of conversation about how good they may or may not be, but it can't hurt to get all these reps against the best and deepest defensive line in the NFL right now. So I mean, I don't want to talk about the preseason superlatives and all that stuff, Jason, but facing this defensive line every day can only help the offensive line because like the Bears aren't going to be throwing Nick Bosa and Drake Jackson and Javon Kinlaw at you. The Seahawks definitely are. The Broncos maybe a little bit. They got a good pass rush, but this offensive line getting to see this every day is going to help. I think my only concern was the Zakel Schuleter Stone Cold Stunner. Didn't look great. The pinfall was only 1.5 seconds. I didn't like it. Got some stuff to work on.
He tried to sell it, and that's what I was looking at when it came to it. Like the best part is about selling the stunner, and everybody wants to see that. So I thought it was really cool. After that, he had 2 bottles of water. He clunked them together, and he threw it over himself. And then when they went to run back, first guy to put, I'll give you guys 2 guesses on the first player to dap them up coming back. You probably only need one. It was George Kittle, and he ran over. He was so happy to see that from the rookies.
I think what would have helped Schuleter a little bit, because I think the visual of the Stone Cold Stunner that always helped like Vince McMahon and The Rock was when they would take the swig of beer right before it, and then they would hit the stunner and the beer would spit out. I don't think they have beer on the sideline for the offensive line. I think it'd be pretty cool if they did, but I don't think it's like my slow pitch softball.
They should have it for the fans, but I'm sorry.
Schuleter should have gotten some water in his mouth to get the spit as he, received the stunner. I think that would have been more exciting, a better sell. But yeah, well, this is why we have camp, though. We can work on these things, really hone them in, and then get closer to a Super Bowl with the Stone Cold Stunner. Jason, any other things on camp that you have? A quicker sprint right option podcast today because we just talked on Saturday. We had the Deebo news. Do you have any other things that you want to mention that should be said?
Jermichael Hasty had some really good one-on-one reps. I mean, he beat Azeez Al-Shaair he's really good on those choice routes. That's clearly why they use him on the passing down role. Hufanga was good in his one-on-ones. Nick Bosa is Nick Bosa. Travaris Ward continues to terrorize and be a menace. Ayuk is growing. And, the 49ers actually just posted the one-on-one rep with him and Jimmy Ward where he scored. That's still not the best throw of the day to me. It's the 40-yard down the field on Charvarius Ward, which that's like release the footage 49ers, and I'm sure they will. But yes, the defense is just as good. Fred Warner was great today. Fred Warner had one particular rep where he was facing Elijah Mitchell, and he started running the route for Mitchell. He was so far in front of Mitchell that, on those one-on-one throws, you're supposed to throw it. He got upset that it wasn't thrown because he's like, that's my interception, but that's how good he's been. I mean, you don't need anything from me to know that Fred Warner was really good. But we're going to find out tomorrow. Today felt very like a ramping up period where it was like, let's ease everybody back in. Trent's in and out. Mike's in and out. Deebo was floating around with the second team here and there. So we're going to see it all ramp up when it comes to guys getting in shape, the continuity, the cohesiveness. And when they start to nail down this O-line rotation, I bet we'll see the offense calm down. So it was a fun day today because Deebo was there. He stayed after. He signed autographs. Brad Graham stayed to sign autographs after as well too. That was a lovely moment. So a lot of fun today at camp and a lot of excitement for obvious reasons.
Well, it's definitely an exciting time. As I said, the 49ers, they play their first preseason game next Friday against the Packers. Everything is revving up. It's getting to that. I mean, we're there. It's August. Football is next month. We got through this off season. It wasn't as exciting of an off season as the previous one, but it was fun. It was exciting. But now we're there. Jason, I hope you're having a blast out there with camp. I'm sure you are. It was great seeing you. It's always fun seeing you. You're leaving Wednesday, I believe, right? Tomorrow's your last day at camp?
No, I'm leaving tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Pacific time, and I'll be back Wednesday morning on the East Coast. So I'll be able to attend practice, knock out some content, and then get to the airport. And unfortunately, I have to leave this beautiful state and all these beautiful people that I've been having a beautiful blast hanging out with.
Well, I'm glad you're having fun, and I'm very excited for you to come out next time because I will move everything to hang out with you next time as well. Just like I'll do anytime I need to. Jason, last thing, Frankie Montas, Lou Trevino, Yankee legends. How we feeling? I can't hear you.
It's not enough to beat Houston. I mean, Aaron Judge is really good at baseball, though, so that's really fun at least. And no Rich Madrid. They weren't Texas routes. They were choice routes. So watch the tape. Watch the tape, man.
Watch the tape. Rich Madrid.
But real quick before I dip, you guys are tapped in here on the YouTube channel. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Help us out. Shout out to everybody from the Spicy Squad that's tapped in. Everybody who sent donations. Appreciate you guys. One more day of content, and then I'll get back to being the guy that's asking questions, unfortunately. But you got to follow all of the people that are going to be at camp. Brad, Jordan, KP, Niners Nation, you guys need to tap in with them. They're going to be there. Great Eyes. Steph is going to be there for many more days. So make sure you guys are following them so you can stay up to date. And, I've got one more day being here, but, there's many more days of camp, and you want to go to the most trusted people.
A lot of great people out there doing great content. As you mentioned, Brad, Jordan, KP, Steph. Go follow all of them. They're all well worth the follow. It's great content. It's amazing content that we're getting, and all the information you need on 49ers camp is there on Twitter. I guess that's going to be it for today's Sprint Right Option podcast. We'll be back Friday. We still have to wrap up our positional previews. I believe we have quarterback, running back, defensive line left. And Jason, we're going to have a preseason game preview to talk about next week. So be excited for that.
I am. I'm very excited for that. I've never been more excited about a preseason game just because we get to talk about a game that's being played.
It's an exciting year for the Niners. I know we have a season preview coming up, but I think the 49ers are going to be pretty good this year. We'll have a season preview coming up here within the next month. Maybe we'll get the Den and Dungeon guys on again because that was a blast last year for the preview. But Jason Aponte, as always.
Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners.
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners.